Welcome to day 0, which I guess is day 4?
Technically day 4, yeah, but it's definitely day 0 spiel-wise.
Right. So, all right, we'll start at the beginning. I slept well. I can't really speak for you.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Well, let's get into it now.
Let's get into it now. Okay, so we have a condo.
Yes, which has 2 bedrooms.
Right. And each bedroom has 2 beds.
And we have 2 condos and 2 bedrooms and 2 beds in each bedroom of the condo we're in, right? The apartment, whatever.
Right. But we didn't know if we were going to have to be sharing our room with multiple people. So we just piled together in a bed and tried to sleep there.
I had no problem. Apparently it's a single bed, so it's a really small bed, but it's Europe, so things are just smaller here. And we didn't want to be rude because if we were sharing a room with someone,
Yeah, we didn't want to assume. So we lay in this bed all squished up together.
I snuggling well, thank you very much.
It is right next to the heater
Yep.
and the wall.
Yep.
So
and just under the window, right?
Under the window. So I wake up in the middle of the night and I am in between the heater and the wall. I have fallen down there. So yeah, that was not fun for me. So I remember trying to go back to sleep and I just couldn't because it was so uncomfortable. So I finally just got up and went and laid on the other bed.
I had no problem. So on these beds, there are individual towels. And so you would have thought that we could have put 2 and 2 together that...
No, I still didn't understand.
Oh, no, and neither of us had a good feeling, like we took half of the closet and, and all that. So anyway, I slept great. I woke up, and Amanda's in the other bed. And I look over, and I was like, what's up? She said, I fell off the bed. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So when Rolf and Yolanda, our roommates, or flatmates, whatever, doesn't matter, showed up, told the story, and they started busting up laughing at us.
They were laughing really hard at us.
Yeah, so whatever. Dumb Americans strike again. So after that, we got up. We had to finish prep for Spiel. Mm-hmm. So we have detailed maps that somebody does on BGG every year for the different halls. We have it color-coded in 4 different colors between review copies and auction winner stuff and things, other games we definitely want and other games we just want to check out.
Yes.
And by we, I mean me, because Amanda doesn't anticipate games. So I had spent hours and hours and hours going through the list to make this. Then we used the Tabletop Together app, or I guess website, I guess it is, to organize everything. Then we had everything printed by hall, and within each hall, want, need, like, etc., etc., and we have our own different little codings for that. So then Amanda took the time to take all the notes that I had made in Tabletop Together and handwrite them onto the printout, and then I used our highlighters to color code everything along to coordinate also with the different maps that we had printed out.
And that honestly didn't take as long as I thought it would. I thought it would take a lot longer, but it took us, maybe an hour and a half?
Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours this morning. So honestly, that's why we didn't do any kind of Patreon update or didn't tweet out or post to Facebook the daily diary from yesterday. And because we got all that done this morning, and then we had to haul butt out of here. And so the 3 of us, you, me, and Mira, we headed down. I had Yelped out, I guess, some restaurants, and found one that sounded like a quaint little cafe.
And that's exactly what it was.
And it took a little bit to find it because the address is for the whole building, so it was over to the side, and it had a very French, like, ladies' cafe. Dainty, I think, is a good way, right?
Very small. All of the tables were very small and up against one wall that had a bench on one side and chairs on the other. And for example, whenever people would open the front door, it would almost hit our table. That's how tiny it was. But they had very delicious food. We both had sandwich type things. I had ham and manchego cheese, and then a side of Greek yogurt and fruit, and it was all delicious.
Yep, and I had a manchego and ham as well, and a boiled egg. And I gotta say, man, this is and I know people get a kick out of our recordings and listening to, Edward and Amanda do Europe or whatever, right? And the quaintness of some of the things, but this was legitimately the single greatest hard-boiled egg I've ever had. The yolk was creamy and soft and the brightest yellow you could ever imagine, and just like it was one of those flavors to where you enjoyed it on your tongue so much you didn't want to swallow it to make it go away. Really, really good. However, as good as breakfast was, I gotta say I was disappointed. And I blame all of Holland. It is all your fault, Holland.
I think that's fair, really.
I ordered a cup of Earl Grey tea. It came out in this very fancy pot and everything is loose leaf, and it was wonderful. But you know what they didn't have?
A cookie.
They didn't have a cookie.
But you know what? I got coffee and I got a cookie.
I didn't get a cookie. And even had I gotten a cookie, it probably, maybe that's it. Maybe they listened to the Daily Diary and they were like, you know what, we don't have any speculoos, so we're not going to give you a cookie because it's going to be disappointing because it's not speculoos.
I am 100% positive that's exactly what happened with the old German lady that couldn't speak English.
Right. But you know what? With a little bit of her broken English and sign language and general, just you could make out what we meant. We were able to, and thank you for Mira for being able to translate, as well as Google Translate, which has worked really well.
Yes.
So another really cool thing, really delicious Earl Grey tea. In addition to this, and again, you Europeans may be very familiar with this, we were not, the tea came out with this little cup of rocks. There's no better way to describe it.
Like crystal rocks.
Yeah, and Mira's, they were all white, so we assumed that was sugar. Mine was kind of a dark brown with amber color streaked through it, and I assume maybe it was just hardened molasses or something, but, don't laugh, but I just licked it, one of the pieces, and I was like, yep, it's sweet, so I dropped it into my tea, and yummy, and it turned into little pebbles, and eventually dissolved.
So could you tell what it was?
Some sort of sugar type thing. But anyway, so that was breakfast. That was thoroughly enjoyable. We went to a grocery store to look for some cocoa for one of Amanda's coworkers. That was a bust, but we got some bananas. And
some water.
Yep. And then from there, we headed to the Messe. So we were able to, because of our press passes, all of us, we had parking passes, which allow us to park underneath the Messe, which, I'll be honest, I didn't even know this existed. And we were able to park down there, and from there, it was Amanda's welcome to Spiel. We had 2 big suitcases full of the t-shirts and the muled games that we brought for all the patrons, and we finally made it up to the entrance to Hall 1, and I videoed because people wanted to see video of Amanda's welcome to Essen, and
it's what it is. Edward talked it up so much between last year and now, and talked about how large it is and the size of it and the scope of it and everything. I was prepared already for it, and it met, if not undermet, my expectations. But
what do you mean by that?
It was either exactly what I thought it was going to be, or not as big as I thought it was going to be. However, everybody that I tell that to, they all say, just wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, because the only people that are there right now are the people working the booth, the people for Spiel that are helping set up the booths, and media, obviously.
Yeah.
But, so I think that's a really good thing, and very surprising thing to me. So it's good in that I think I did a good job of preparing you for just the scope of how just it's really big. And also it's very good that you're not overwhelmed. You were not, which that was a very big surprise, but a pleasant surprise.
It's a surprise for me as well, but hey, it is what it is.
So yeah, we walk in and Amanda's like, oh, okay. Because, and you would kind of mention this a little bit, that the fact that it's broken up into halls helps it feel not as big.
That's what I was thinking is, well, maybe since it's 8 exhibit halls the size of the one Gen Con hall, maybe that's why it doesn't seem as massive, because it's all broken up. So maybe if it was, one enormous thing, then obviously that would be different.
And obviously some halls are bigger than others. So you have Hall 3, which is the super big, long one. Hall 1 and 2, which are about the size of Origin, is somewhere between Origins and Gen Con individually. And then you have 6, 7, and 8, which are the normal size halls as well. But yeah, it was really cool to be able to experience setup day, because I had missed it last year because my flight got delayed. And we walk in and, oh, hey, look, there's Paul Grogan. Right. Hey, Paul, what's up? And got to talk with him, and we ran into a whole lot of people, both media, publishers, designers, the whole 9 yards.
Like patrons that happened to be pressed for different things that came in and said hello.
Yep, different listeners, which it's cool because these people either working the booth or are a part of these companies and coming up. And I'll be honest, the amount of people that came up and told us how much they're thoroughly enjoying these daily diaries, I was really genuinely surprised that. I mean, obviously, we see that, there's 3,000 downloads of it or whatever, and
it's still nice to hear it.
It's a pleasant surprise, I think, is a good way to put it. So
Same difference with me and my Ask the Elephant. I thought one person would show up, So I mean, I just don't think that I know I at least don't grasp that piece of it.
I do, but it still surprises me, right? So we met up with Paul Grogan, and he was like, hey, have you heard about, or do you like escape rooms? And we're like, yeah, sure. And he's like, you want to do one real quick? I like, what? So we went over to the Ludicreations booth, and for those that didn't hear or that aren't aware, there were 3 or 4 booths that had their money boxes, their cash boxes stolen.
We said 3. They tried the 4th.
But right. So there were 3 cash boxes stolen from different publishers and thousands of dollars. So that's where the game Steal This Game came from. Right. A bunch of us pitched in to help in some capacity, to help start up a Kickstarter, basically to help them. They designed this game overnight when it happened and had the Kickstarter, yada, yada, yada. So the Heracles, the head of Ludicreations and the whole Ludicreations crew, thought they would kind of do a playoff of that, and they made a 10-minute escape room.
Yes. Which is, if you solve it, you get to steal the game.
Right, which it's under lock and key and all. And we tried it. We had 10 minutes and failed. But we were reasonably close to being able to solve it. Like, had we had another 3-4 minutes, we probably could have gotten it. And the cool thing is, it was, and I'm failing on the name, so I apologize, but it was me, Amanda, and
His name was Chris.
Okay, a friend of Paul's.
Right.
He works for Reiner Knizia's Games Developing or something.
It was really funny when we were walking into the escape room. You said something to Paul about, hey, he works with Reiner Knizia, so we should be good. And Paul goes, yeah, the lowest score wins.
I missed that. But it was pretty cool that we don't want to talk anything specific about the actual room in case anybody listening to this actually gets a chance to, or I mean, it's open to whoever, right?
Can, yeah.
But all three of us were able to figure out different parts of the puzzle,
Yes,
and that was really, I mean, that's the whole concept of an escape room is teamwork
Right.
and all that. So that was cool. Even though we just met Chris, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Even though we failed, it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So after that, basically we went to the booth at ADC Blackfire, which is 2 Delta 128. Hard to miss, right in the center of Hall 2.
It's got a big ring around the ceiling.
Big green one right next to Ultra Pro and all that. So we walk over, we see Uli, and we get introduced to Robert. Robert is in charge of setting up ADC, or he's in charge of logistics, I think, and kind of all the marketing and all of that for ADC Blackfire. And without those two, we're not there.
Correct.
And we walk up to the booth, and there's the big banner next to the fishbowl window for our meeting room, and it was just like it almost brought tears to my eyes because it was like, holy shit, that's us, that's ours. Like, wow, right? Not in a braggadocious way, not anything, just
shock.
Wow, right? This is. Really, wow. So that was a really, really big moment, and I tweeted it out, and that was just cool, man. I don't know the right words. It was just really, really cool to see it. So yeah, we go into the meeting room. It's still under construction and all this because it's setup day, and it's like
panel.
Right. It's like 11:30 in the morning and whatever. And so, and Uli's like, anything you need, just like, and I'm like, really? Anything? Like, stop. Like, you're doing enough. Like, this, like, what? Oh, there aren't chocolates in the booth? Are we going to complain? Really?
Fetch me a donut.
Right. I mean, come on, dude.
Really?
This is, yeah. So we drop our bags off. We whatever. We take some pictures, and then we go explore because Amanda hasn't seen Spiel. So we go hall by hall.
Right.
We keep running into everybody, which was awesome. And it was really cool. These people I can call friends, regardless of who they are.
Right.
And it was just like to see these people I haven't seen since last year, right? And it's just a reunion of friends. And it was just cozy and, I don't know, special. I don't know the exact words.
I don't know how to quantify it or what words.
It was just cool, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're walking around, and so what do you think of the halls, the individual halls, and like?
They're what you would expect in a convention hall. I mean, that's what the vendor halls look like at Origins and at Gen Con, and you have the big displays, and you have the smaller publishers that just have a little section, and just stuff like that, just normal. But there's just a lot of them.
A whole lot of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're walking around, just kind of getting lay of the land. One really nice thing is a lot of the publishers, if they haven't like grown as far as like they go from a small booth to a medium booth or something like that, if that hasn't happened, for the most part, publishers are all in the same spot. Which is really, really convenient for my memory to be able to be like, yes, I remember Splatter. Yep, they're right here. Okay, good. And then there are cases like Game Brewer, which are the guys with Pixie Queen. They had a very tiny booth last year, and now they have a fairly sizable booth this year. They go from like 2 tables to 12 tables. So that was, there are changes like that. Phil Eklund went from the side in Hall 3, a little tiny booth, to a considerably bigger booth, but it has a few different publishers. Like they all got together to have a bigger booth, that type thing.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
As well, right?
So it was just cool to see and catch up with people and just get a lay of the land. So then after that, we took a break. We met up with Clay. We saw Marlon. We saw Mira. And so we just had a cup of coffee or tea in my case.
Of course.
And then we went and saw the press displays. I don't exactly know what it's called. The press. It's not a press room,
No,
but
I think they call it the press room, but it's really not. It's just all of the new games
are out on display.
completely set up.
Yeah.
Just ready for you to look at or take pictures of, or whatever.
Yeah, so there are some booths have representatives there, like the Pixie Queen was there.
She literally was there.
Right, and she was a bitch.
She was, but
which is exactly what she is in the game.
It was really funny. When we left, she held her hand out,
like kiss the ring.
And I literally started to walk off, and I looked back, and she was still standing there, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I should do it, so she'll stop standing there.
Right. So I mean,
she's a character, obviously, but
right.
it was just fun.
In some of the displays, they went all out. Like there's a dreamscape, I think it's called,
maybe
and
game?
and it looked like a bedroom from IKEA.
Yeah, it did, and it had like a not a banner, but like a thing in the back that had bookcases, and it was pictured. But so they have intricate, crazy things like that, and then they have other ones where the game's just kind of set up, and there's like an index card with the
booth,
number,
right?
So it runs the gamut.
And it literally, if there was a new game coming out, I mean, everything from like Gaia Project to Pixie Queen obviously was there. There's just a ton.
Name, yeah.
And the really nice thing about that is because obviously when we're doing when we're going through the previews and like, oh, yeah, I want to check this out, I want to check that out, there's very limited info on a lot of these games, and you can see some pictures, some you don't see any pictures of, and it gives us a chance to really, in a non-stressful environment, like no one is hassling on one way or the other, like you're not trying to hustle for a review copy and they're not trying to hustle to get you to review their game. It's just here's the game set up. Just take a look at the components and don't talk if you don't want to. You can just look. So that was really nice, and just being able to see the games and be able to hold the components and touch them and get a feel for stuff. And there were a few games, which I can't think of off the top of my head, and I don't have them written down, that were not on my radar, that are now, and there's a couple that were, that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe not. And like there's some, like the cards you can see, oh wow, that font's really small on those, I wouldn't have expected that, or whatever. Or seeing, for instance, like the spinner on Montana, is this really a bad thing? Because I'd kind of written the game off, but then again, it's kind of just a randomizer, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's just like a die, it's just a spinner.
Right.
It's weird, but whatever.
So anyway, so we spent a while taking some pictures down there, which we'll tweet out throughout the con, and probably like do a montage or something at the end of it when we get home. But so that was that, and which is nice, and it's set up the whole week. So for press, we can go in there anytime, which also it's a nice little escape. It's a quiet room because no one else is allowed in there. So it's a quiet place, which will be great if you end up getting a migraine, right?
It'll be perfect because, like, for example, like at Gen Con, when I got a headache, because I'm sure I did at some point, I could just go to the hotel because it was attached.
Right.
Here, we're 20 minutes away, so I have a quiet place to go.
And it's supposed to be rain and stormy and cool, so going outside,
That's not an option,
right.
So
So after that, we just did more walking around, and eventually picking up everything from review copies to some of the auction winner games for folks, like getting 4 copies of Altiplano because we had to buy one for various people and this and that, whatever. So we would make trips back and forth to the booth, and it was pretty funny to see various members of the press like carrying around empty suitcases or like the wheeled suitcases, which I think they're all wheeled nowadays, but whatever, so that they could pick up their review copies or buy whatever. And there were some publishers out there that if you did not pre-order, then you could not get a game, or if it wasn't a review copy, they wouldn't sell it to you, or some that were just flat out absolutely not until tomorrow. So it kind of ran the gamut on that stuff. But for the most part, it was, picking up review copies, stuff like that we had already arranged, whether the publishers had offered, we had asked, whatever. We go back to the booth, or actually, no, we were out at a various booth, and who walks up? Vital Lacerda. And that was one of those kind of surreal moments. Like, Vital came up to say hi to us.
Yeah, that's just weird.
that was backwards and weird. So that was cool, and it was nice to see him awake.
Yes.
Because the last time we'd seen him was at Origins, and he had gone through a massive ordeal trying to get there, and he was just a dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want to go get a copy of Transatlantic,
Right.
and just talking about games that we were looking forward to between all of us. And that was just, it's just gamers talking about games.
Seriously. Yeah.
That was really cool. So we headed back to our booth, because why? He said he didn't have a copy of our promo.
He said he didn't even have his game, a copy of Lisboa.
I'm sure he was going to get one here.
I hope so.
But that said, we had to remedy that. So we went by the booth and we got him a copy of the promo. And call it me being an opportunistic or just, well, I got all these promos here. Hey, Vital, would you mind signing a handful of them? He's like, no, of course. He says, I'm going to be doing this for 5 days.
Yes, he had his own pin section in his backpack. Man after my own heart.
Right, seriously. So we had him sign 10 of them that we're going to give away in some form or fashion. We don't know what, so don't ask. We don't know. And then we are walking out from our booth, and he said he'd never met Uli. So we're like, hey, Uli. And Uli wasn't crazy busy. He was busy, but not crazy busy.
Right.
Hey, Uli, and made the introduction. Obviously, they knew who each other was.
Not at each other, right.
So while we're out there, who walks up? I don't know, some little Irish dude.
Ian O'Toole?
Oh, yeah, hey. And he's like, you don't recognize me, do you? And I'm like, I feel like I should. And he's like, hi, I'm Ian. Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
So I was still in the meeting room, and you were yelling for me. So I went out there, and you were like, does he look familiar to you? And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, yeah, but I don't know why. And then, like, oh, it's Ian O'Toole.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
I recognized him from the interview, but his camera was, like, up
And
high, looking down.
That was totally my excuse too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sticking to that.
Absolutely.
You know, speaking of which, so I hate not remembering names. I try really, really hard, but like we ran into Ben from Perfect Information.
You had no idea what his name was.
And I'm looking at him like, I know you. Not biblically, but I know you. And
I don't know your name.
dude, I felt so embarrassed because obviously I know Ben. And that's frustrating. So Ben, if you hear this, I apologize and horribly embarrassed.
Wow.
So after that, we said, hey, Ian, so we were all kind of standing around talking like, hey, you want to come sit down because, you've been traveling. He's like, yeah, sure. So we brought him back to the meeting room, and it just occurred to us like, this is kind of cool, right? I mean, here's Ian O'Toole and Vital Lacerda.
I tweeted out a picture. It's just, I mean, I'm sure it sounds like we're bragging, but we're really not.
It's just cool.
So crazy.
Hold on. Anybody listening, I mean, it's not fanboy, and don't get all like, but dude, we appreciate the coolness of being able to be a part of this and do this and to have these moments.
Yeah.
So it's not us bragging. I hope that comes through. Dude, this is just cool, right?
Bizarre. Like, just, I mean, we were standing around talking to the board and dice to, not Philip, but
Heracles. Yeah.
There's 2 Heracleses, which that's just bizarre as well. But
That's a common name, obviously.
And so I'm standing there, and Euron comes up and gooses me. Like, Euron Dalman from Slaughter is coming up and poking me, giggling about it, and running off. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand my life.
So that was cool. Yeah, and we just we're just walking through, and there goes Martin Wallace just walking down the hall, and it's
Tony
cool,
Boydell
dude.
stopped us and gave us some special beer that he got made
For his birthday, right? It's just the whole point of these daily diaries is to, hey, live vicariously through us, and we're trying to convey that, hey, this stuff's really cool to us too, right? And so I hope that's coming through.
Me too.
Yeah, so we're just talking about, hey, what games are you looking forward to, Ian, right? Just gamers talking about, right? And so we're talking, Vital's talking about transatlantic, and Ian's like, yeah, I just picked up a copy. I think it was like 45 euros or 40 or whatever. And, you know, then they start talking about shop stuff and whatever.
Yeah, and then Vital's like, where's the ATM? I don't know, you know.
Right. And I was like, hey, Ian, since we have you here, so I grabbed the cards that that our Vital had just signed, and I was like, hey, Ian, would you mind signing these? He's, no, not at all. So, and I go to get him a pen, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. He's an artist. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, oh, yeah, he has his own pen, right? Of course, dur. So he signs it, and he said, every one of these is going to be different. And I said, I don't blame you if you're going to sign 10 of them. My signature would look different in each one of them. So he was willing to do that as well. And that was one of those surreal moments, right? So here's our very first promo being signed in the... Dude, this is... Anyway, whatever. All right. So after that, we just walked around, picked up more games, whatever. Come back. So in our meeting room, there was a little dish there, and Amanda's like, "What's this for? Like mints?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess."
So then I just dumped his cough drops.
Yeah. So now anybody who comes in for an interview will offer cough drop because we all talk so much that to help keep your throat, and so I don't sound like a dying frog.
I think you still will.
On Sunday, but in theory, maybe not. So yeah, that was just awesome, and yeah, just walking through the halls, just running to random people, and it's just, oh hey, there goes Vlada Chvátil, and just whatever. It's just weird, man, and weird in the best way.
Yes.
And you realize that all these people we're just people, no matter what side of this you're on, whether you're just a gamer, like just. You know, you're not in the industry, whether you're a publisher, a designer, media, whatever. So yeah, we're walking around in the media room thing, and there's Tom, and we run into John from John Gets Games, and actual Lolo, and Efka and Elaine, and finally met Tom from Slicker Drips. Yeah, it's just cool. Like all these people you see online. You know, whether it's YouTube or just whatever.
Right.
It's just cool to actually, oh, hey, you're just a gamer, just regular dude or dudette, as it were. So yeah, it was just really, really, really a fun day.
Yes.
Didn't get quite as much accomplished as I wanted. I would have liked a couple more hours, but Rolf and Yolanda had made it down in town.
Right, and there were so many people still setting up stuff, and they had already set up and left.
Right, and you don't want to be that person, right? So you don't want to be rude and be like, yeah, look, I realize you're putting up this pillar, or you're stocking your shelves or whatever, so excuse me, could I get a copy? Right. No, so yeah, so we didn't want to do that. So we basically went around to most booths and just said, hey, just want to say hi, we'll see you later this week, whatever, that type thing. So at that point, Rolf touches base. Hey, I'll pick you out front. Okay, cool. He's our ride. Mm-hmm. We go back to the condo. We freshen up, and then we meet everybody. And then it's, let's see, you, me, Rolf, and Yolanda, and then Andre, Rolf's partner in Wildcatters, and they have a new game coming. We're not allowed to say anything more than that. Then Joron, Martin, and Martin. Sorry. And Theo, we all went out for dinner. Those are our flatmates, I guess, in the other condo. And we went to a Greek restaurant, and we had like a 2.5-hour dinner, just sitting around. They're all Dutch, so everything's at a slower pace.
Everything's at a slower pace, and it was just so fun to just sit around and just all the languages. Like there's Dutch, there's German, there's English going on around, you know, at the table, and it's just Yolanda kept getting on Rolf because he wasn't speaking English. She's like, speak English.
And we were like, it's okay, he's translating. It's no big deal. So it's just fun to be around friends, both old and new. And some of the, like, we were commenting how we had all different walks of life, right? So we had the assistant mayor of one Dutch city in the group. We had a machine operator. We had a landscaping engineer. We had somebody who works in HR. Obviously, you're in medical billing / podcast, and I have obviously a podcast. And it was just cool, man. Just like, how awesome is this hobby that you can have completely different walks of life and different just experiences, but you all share this one love of this hobby, and you can sit around and joke and have a good meal and just enjoy the fellowship and the friendship and just of people, just good people. Color doesn't matter, sex doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter. You're nothing about.
Even the language doesn't matter.
Right.
We're just sitting around talking and making hand motions if we can't figure out how to say the word to the other person, or it's just
Yeah, so it was a thoroughly enjoyable. The food was good. The company was better. And then good coffee and tea, and then we drove back to the hotel, and here we are. Oh, yeah, the hotel, the condo, whatever. Yeah, and we realized that I have my bed, you have your bed. Gonna wake up in the morning, make some scrambled eggs, and get ready and head to the mesa and get ready for the what Amanda says is a totally normal convention, no big deal.
Correct, but again, we'll see tomorrow if I still feel that way, and tomorrow's feeling tired.
I cannot wait to hear about that. So yeah, tonight's a long one, but we figured it would be just because we wanted to really tell you guys about, what the day was about, right? Also, it's something that we didn't mention is all of our recording gear is locked up in our in the booth.
Yeah, we completely forgot.
We did, and so we actually have these little iPhone mics that we bought at the behest of Matt. He's like, they're like $9 a piece. They were on a Amazon daily deal or lightning deal, whatever. So if they sound a little bit different or not as good, that's why. So bear with us. This hopefully, if we remember, will be a one-day thing. But you know what? We wanted to record this because, well, you guys wanted it and you guys deserve this, and we wanted to share this experience with you guys. So yeah, that's day 0.
Day 0 or day 4.
Yep. And now the madness begins.
Yeah.
So if you're coming by, please stop us and say hi. And if we're walking, come join us on the walk. Otherwise, come by, buy a shirt, get a promo, or just come by and give us a hug and say hi.
Yeah, and I'm a hugger, so just stop trying to shake my hand.
All right, guys. Sleep well. Have a wonderful day. And we will see you from day 1 of Spiel. Auf Wiedersehen.